Hello, and welcome to the Mothertown Podcast, a collaboration between Thayer Memorial Library and Sterling-Lancaster Community Television. October is Disability Awareness Month in Lancaster. Thayer Memorial Library, working along with Lancaster's Commission on Disability, looks to increase exposure to the lived experiences of those with disabilities. This year, our focus is on unseen disabilities, a set of disabilities commonly referred to as invisible disabilities. My guests today are Lesley Allison from Lancaster's Commission on Disability and Stephanie, who will discuss her experiences living with an invisible disability. Welcome to you both.
Hi, Rachel.
Thank you.
Lesley, let's start by trying to understand what an invisible disability is. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. I think when the average person thinks about a disability, they would normally think of a person who either uses a wheelchair or walker or some other device, or maybe walks with a limp or has a different type of a posture. And individuals who present in this way may have disabilities, but there is actually a large group of individuals in society who have disabilities that are not visible to someone on the outside.
Is it fair to say that many people living with an invisible disability have their struggles go unnoticed, including by even their own family or friends or people they work with?
I'm sure that's certainly true. I think one of the biggest issues would be that if they're experiencing a struggle based on their disability, as you mentioned, others wouldn't know about it, but also that they may be judged, their behavior may be judged based on a lack of knowledge of their disability.
What kind of struggles do you imagine these people living with?
So some common invisible disabilities might be pain that impacts a person's ability to move or function. Also, some neuromuscular problems that people have might make it more difficult for them to get around. They may become fatigued more easily. Also, some cardiorespiratory problems which impact a person's ability to, cover a certain distance of walking and so forth.
Let's bring into the conversation Stephanie now to talk about her experiences. Welcome again, Stephanie.
Thank you for having me.
Stephanie, why did you agree to join this conversation about invisible disabilities?
Well, I agreed because I love Lesley, but I do have multiple sclerosis, which is MS, which is kind of an illness that impacts so many on so many different levels. And at one glance, for me, you wouldn't necessarily know that I have that illness, but it has impacted me on occasion for my mobility, my cognition, sometimes the way I speak. And I think it does impact me overall when I go out into the community, because sometimes people might look at me differently if I'm struggling to get my words across, or if I'm stuttering. Some people might think I might have had a glass of wine or too many in the afternoon, which is not that. It's my actual diagnosis.
Do you find that you struggle a bit more as the day goes on, as maybe you become more fatigued, say, at the end of a long workday?
It definitely impacts me at nighttime.
And for people who don't know you, how do you see them reacting?
I mean, I think they think I'm funny, because I think some of the stuff that comes out of my mouth is kind of way out in the left field, but it's just the way my mind processes information and how I send it out. So I don't know. I mean, maybe I feel like a jokester sometimes when I'm not trying to be.
Right. So perhaps people don't understand that you're struggling with something as opposed to you're just trying to be goofy.
Right.
Do you find that you have to explain yourself to people a lot?
No, I don't think I mean, I think for my personality, I don't, but I definitely would have to see if others were not as, I have a very strong personality. So I do feel that it might impact how other people feel, because it's kind of hard sometimes to be judged in a setting that is unexplained. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. How about at home? The people you live with, or even your close friends, has this impacted your interactions or relationships with them?
I mean, I definitely think it has, because of whether we're traveling. I always have to play a close eye on how the weather's going to be. So I might not travel as much. My family knows that I have to rest at nighttime. So whatever we have to do as a family, it definitely impacts and changes what we would normally do.
So you have to do things earlier in the day.
Earlier in the day, and I can't do as much as I would want to.
And as much as you used to?
Right. That's one of the reasons why I got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, is because I was on vacation and I couldn't handle going to the museums that day. And I had to actually stop what we were doing just to go back and take a nap.
And you mentioned also the weather. Can you explain how that impacts you?
Well, heat definitely impacts me. So when it's hot, my body, like Lesley had mentioned about the pain, I have a lot of neuropathy pain, which will impact how I walk. I might be slower. My speech definitely gets impacted from the heat anytime it's really, really hot. If I'm out in the weather too long, my mother-in-law used to think I would drink a lot, and it wasn't that. It was my word finding and my stuttering gets really bad if I'm in the heat too long.
Since your disability is invisible, what is it like for you living in our world where most people don't understand what your experience is like?
I think at this moment, I have to say, I don't know if it has impacted me 100 like that way. It would be completely horrible. I definitely know as I get older, and I might not show it. Sometimes parking in sometimes people would see a young person get out of a car that's parking closer to the store, not in a handicap parking, but, a spot close to the store, and they could be like a past judgment, like, why is she doing that? She's young. She can walk further. But in reality, some of us can't, right? So that extra 10 steps is going to impact how we're going to feel. So I don't know if I truly have a feeling about it at this moment, but I can definitely see as I age and things get worse, I can definitely see it be a struggle, because when you don't see a device or you don't see an actual limp, I definitely feel people pass judgment.
Do you ever find that when you're out in public, people become frustrated with you or impatient with you?
I'd have to say no, but I have to say my husband has made comments where people might have. He felt that they were, but I didn't notice it.
He's protective of you.
Whether it's me trying to, if maybe it's just me trying to speak and find the words and I take too long. He has noticed it, but I've never paid attention to it.
Do you find that your family have become more protective of you?
Yeah. They don't talk about certain things around me. They don't stress me out.
Is that positive or negative for you, or a little bit of both?
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, hey, if you don't have to hear certain things, it's okay. But I kind of want to make the judgment of how I want to interpret something or be a part of something, rather than someone make the judgment for me.
Are there other challenges that you face that you haven't mentioned so far?
No, I don't think so.
How would you encourage other people who are living with invisible disabilities?
I would just say to continue to do the things that are important to you, and to continue to just be you, and everything else will fall into place.
Yeah. Have you been able to find support outside of your friends and your family? Are there community resources you're taking advantage of?
There are, but I personally am not taking advantage of them.
And why not?
Well, because I'm rather on the younger side of my diagnosis, and it makes me sad. So yeah. I'm kind of like ignorance of bliss.
Right. Lesley, I'd like to turn back to you for a moment. Can you share with us why the Commission on Disability has taken on invisible disabilities as the theme this year?
Well, I have to say that I've been a little bit passionate about the idea of invisible disabilities because I have a child who has an invisible disability, and as my children get older, I actually worry about how he might function in the world with his disability, and so it's always been something that's been close to my heart. So, every year when we are sort of kind of shooting ideas about what we want to focus on for accessibility awareness, I've brought it up, and this year it kind of stuck. So, yeah.
Are medical professionals diagnosing more invisible disabilities now than they have before?
I'll take this first, Steph. I will say that there are a quite large number of diagnoses that may present with invisible disabilities. So I'm not sure if there's more than before, but one example that's very recent is long COVID. Many people who have long COVID have very kind of vague symptoms that impact their daily lives, but most of these symptoms wouldn't be visible to the outside onlooker. Steph, do you have any comments on that?
The only other thing, too, would be is I feel like it's a lot of younger generation people that are getting diagnosed with some of these illnesses now, where we didn't see them as often in that age group range.
I will say that, interestingly, having kids in the school system, at the high school level, in the past couple of years, also post-pandemic, a lot of teachers are asking about anxiety. I think a lot of children and even adults during the pandemic, for various reasons, developed anxiety, which could be considered an invisible disability.
Yeah, so it feels like a very timely topic.
For sure.
Yeah. What should people do if they want to learn more, or if they know someone with an invisible disability? What kind of steps can they take?
Well, I'll say I spent some time researching invisible disabilities in the last few months, and there is an organization called the Invisible Disability Association that you can find information online. Certainly, if you're a Lancaster resident, you could contact the Commission on Disability. Checking out the Lancaster town website, you can reach us there. Stephanie, do you have anything to offer there?
I don't. I mean, it's depending on their disability. There's always support groups. There's always tons of support groups that you can get in this area. Some are even online if you can't get out of the house now. So technology has allowed us to be together in that aspect. So depending on your disability, there is always a support group.
Yeah, help is ready for anyone seeking it.
Yeah, the internet is an amazing cache of resources if you have the time and the ability to get there.
Right. I think this is a vital topic, especially considering, as you've already said, there are more people being diagnosed, it seems like, than ever before. And I'm really grateful that we were able to take some time today to shed some light on this subject. Stephanie and Lesley, thank you so much for joining me. My name is Rachel Rosengard. I'm the Assistant Director here at Thayer Memorial Library. To learn more about invisible disabilities, you can visit the library or you can check out our webpage at www.thayermemoriallibrary.org. Thank you once again, Stephanie and Lesley. And from all of us here at Mothertown Podcast, thank you so much for listening.